Section 5.2 talks about factoring by grouping. Excuse me. So in factoring by grouping, the one thing I want you to notice is that all these problems here, guys, are all going to have four terms. Okay. What I mean by four terms, they're all going to have four pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. All of the problems would be like this in 5.2. Okay. So the idea behind grouping here says, let me just get rid of this red. Okay. So the idea behind grouping here says what we're going to do is we're just going to take two at a time. I'm going to put a box around the first two here, okay? So I'm not looking at anything else. I'm just looking at xy minus 2x. And I'm going to ask myself, is there anything common to both those pieces? Well, I notice that they both have the letter x, okay? So if I take out the x from here, well, I'm still left with a y. If I take away the x from here, I'm still left with a minus 2. Then I'm going to do the same thing for the next two pieces. I'm going to circle those two. Guys, when I circle them, I'm going to circle the sign that I have there as well, so it's a positive, okay? And I'm going to ask myself, is there a number or a letter, whatever, common to both two of them, to both those two terms? Is there a number that goes into both of them? Well, yeah, actually, the number 7 goes into both. Because there's a plus here, I'm going to put a plus, okay? So if I take the 7 away from here, I'm still left with a y, minus, because there's a minus. Now, guys, when I'm taking the 7 away from here, in essence, what I'm doing is I'm taking 14 and I'm dividing it by 7. We come up with the number 2. Okay. Now, we're going to know if we did this right if, let's see, let's go with green. Okay. If this piece here and that piece there are the same, then we know we did this in the right way. So the way I'm going to write my answer now, that common piece, the one that they both have, I'm going to write it like this, y minus 2. Okay. When we take the y minus 2 from here, and we take the y minus 2 from here, this piece and that piece are going to be my second factor, x plus 7. Okay? And there's our final answer. So look, let's do the next one. We're going to go about it exactly the same way. So my first step is I'm going to put a box around the first two. So remember, we're always going to have four terms, and we're going to group them two at a time. So I'm going to ask myself, okay, is there something that they both have? Well, yeah, you know what? They both have x's. But remember, I have to take the smallest of the x's, right? So this one has 3 and this one has 2, so we're going to take away 2 of them. Okay? Now again, I want you to think about this for a minute. I used to have 3 x's. We took away 2. That means that we're still left with one of those x's, right? Because there's a total of 3. Minus, because there's a minus there. If I take away the x squared from here, well, I'm still left with the number 8. Okay? Now I'm going to circle the second two pieces, and I'm going to ask myself, okay, is there a number or a letter that goes into both of them? Well, they both don't have letters, but the number 3 can be divided into both of them. So I'm going to put a plus 3. Again, there's a plus right there, so I'm putting my plus 3. Okay. Now from here, if I take away the 3 from here, I'm still left with the x. Now remember, what I'm doing is I'm dividing. 24 divided by 3 is an 8. There's a minus in the middle, so I don't want to forget that. And then again, we're going to say, look, if those pieces match up, which they do, that means we did this right. X minus 8. And then if you remember, guys, this piece here and that piece there are going to make my second factor, x squared plus 3. Okay? So here's my answer for both those two. All right. Let's take a look at the next one here. I'm going to basically keep repeating the same process every time. So notice what we're going to do. We're going to box these first two. Okay? And I'm going to ask myself, is there a number or is there a letter common to both of them? Well, one has a y, one has an x. So I know they don't have the same letter, but the number 4 can be divided into both of them. Okay? So here's my number 4. If I take away the 4 from here, I'm still left with a y. There's a minus, so I'm going to put a minus. 4 goes into 12 3 times, and there's still that x, so I got to write it there. Okay. Now remember, I'm going to circle the second two, and I'm going to circle them with the sign. So I want you to notice the first sign I see here is negative. So whatever number I was thinking about taking out, it's going to be negative because that first piece is negative. So let's take a look. First thing I noticed, well, they both have a w, so I know I'm going to take out a w, and they both can be divided by 3. So we're taking away a negative 3 and a w. Okay? So I want you to think about this for a minute. if you look at those parts, there's a -3, there's a y, there's a w. Well, we took out the -3 and the w, we still have the y, right? Now remember, the next thing I'm doing is I'm saying, what's 9 divided by 3? But it's really a -3. So a positive 9 divided by -3 is a -3. I took away the w, but we're still left with the x, right? Again, if you notice, this piece here and that piece there are matching up. So that's going to be my first common factor, y minus 3x. And if you remember, guys, my second factor should be 4 minus 3w. Okay. All right, let's keep moving along here. I'm going to do the same thing here with this next problem. Okay. So I'm going to say, okay, what do both those pieces have? Well, it looks like they both have the letter A. Okay. If I take away the letter A from here, I'm still left with the letter D. If I take away the A from here, I'm still left with the number 3. Okay. Then I'm going to circle both these two pieces. The first thing I notice is that's negative. So whatever I'm going to take out, it's going to be negative. So think about this for a minute. This is a D squared. That means there's 2 of them. There's a 3D. There's only 1 of them there. So they both have the letter D. I can take out the smallest one of the 2. So we're going to take out the letter D. Because remember, if you think about it, the power there really is a 1. Okay. So if we had 2 of them and we took away 1, well, we're still left with 1. And if we took 1 and we took it out, we had 1, we took it out, we shouldn't have any more D's. But I want you to notice we're also taking out the negative. So that's going to be now a plus with a 3, because the 3 is still there. And once again, if we do a little stare and compare, parece that we did it right. So D plus 3, and then our second factor should be the letter A minus the letter D. And there we go. All right. So I'm going to kind of keep moving along here. Righty, let's take a look here at what we have. So again, first thing I notice, looks like they both have the letter X. And I can take out a Y, and a plus 5 is what I'm left with, right? And then, again, if we circle over here, first thing I notice is that piece is negative, so I'm going to take a negative out. Okay. And between negative 5y and negative 25, we can take out the number negative 5. So if we take out the negative 5 from here, we're still left with a y. Remember, guys, in essence, we're dividing. A negative 25 divided by a negative 5 is a positive 5, right? Okay. Again, they match up. So my common factor is that y plus 5. And then our other factor would be the x minus 5, right? Okay. Good. So let me keep kind of scrolling down here and see what else we have. I'll grab my pen once again. Okay. So again, I'm going to box these first 2. Okay. Excuse me. So I'm going to take a look here and say, okay, between 35 and 5A, what do they both have, or what can be divided into both? The number 5. Okay. So 5 goes into 35 7 times. If I take out the 5 from here, I'm still left with the minus A. Okay. I'm going to circle these 2 right here. Notice this piece is plus, so I'm going to put a plus here. This is a 7 with 1 A, and these are 2 A's. So they both have the letter A, but the smallest one I can take out is one of them, right? So if I have a 7 and 1A, and I take out that 1A, I'm still left with a 7. And A squared means that there's 2 of them. If I took 1 out, we're still left with 1. And let's see, we don't need the software right now. Let's see if we can just move that over. There we go. Alrighty. So those are matching up. 7 minus A. And the other piece is a 5 plus A. Alright. So, guys, in the next problem that I have here, first thing I notice, I have, different letters, T, X, R, and T and RX, okay? So you don't have a whole lot of problems like this in your homework, but I think you might have one, maybe two. And so the idea here is we're going to actually have to rewrite this. And the way I know I'm going to have to rewrite this is if I kind of take a look, let me see. I have a T and an X, I have a T and an R and an X and an R. So in essence, what I want to try to do is I want to see if I can kind of group them together, okay? Meaning by, let me put the letters, the ones that have the same letters, let me put those together. So one thing we could do, we could say, look, let's put, say, the 6TX and the minus 2RX together, okay? And then, because those are the X's, let's see, T, so what's coming first? T and then R. So look, if I'm putting T and then R first, I still haven't messed with these. So I'm going to put them where I have T and then R first coming next. Okay, so I'm going to put a minus 3T and a plus R also. Okay, I'm just rewriting it so that my letters kind of match up. I could put the TX and the RX together if I wanted to, but I just need to get them to where the letters are the same, okay? Or the TX, I'm sorry, and the 3T, I could put those together too. I just need to get some of the letters to be the same. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and box these first two right here, okay? And I'm going to ask myself, okay, is there something that they both have? Well, we know they both have the letter, what, X? Okay. So I know I can take an X, but can't we also take out the number 2? So if I take out a 2 and an X, okay? So think about it this way. 2 goes into 6 3 times. I still have the letter T, okay? Minus, because there's a minus. 2 goes into 2 once, right? We took out the letter X. We still have the letter R, okay? Now I'm going to circle these two here. And I'm going to ask myself, is there anything common to both those pieces? And I can't really see anything that they both have, right? But the one thing I want you to notice, we have that negative there, right? Guys, if we cannot factor anything out, we can always factor out the number 1. And because we're dividing by a negative 1, all we're doing here is just changing our signs. So look, this is going to be, instead of a negative 3t, be a positive 3t. Instead of a positive r, it's going to be a negative r. And then if I look at this piece here and that piece there, yep, they match up. So we're going to go 3t minus r and 2x minus 1. Okay. Like I said, you don't have too many problems like that in your homework, but you have maybe 1, maybe 2, okay? And if you're trying to set it up and it's not working, just try to see if you can rearrange the pieces. All right, let's go ahead and finish the rest of this one off here. Let's see, I think we just got a couple more. So from here, the first thing I'm going to do is I notice they both have the letter Y, so let me take out the letter Y. I'm left with a 3y minus 1. Oops, let me get my red. Okay. And from here, I can take out the number 3. And I'm also left with a 3y minus 1, right? Because 3 goes into 9 3 times, 3 goes into 3 once. It's minus, so put the minus. And, excuse me, those pieces match up. So we have our 3y minus 1 and our y plus 3. There we go. Let's see. Okay, last problem here. Let's see, let's box this. What do they both have? It looks like they both have the letter X. And I should be left with an X minus 2. Okay. Here, first thing I want you to notice, guys, there's a negative, so I'm going to put a minus sign. And they both have the letter Y, so I'm going to write down the letter Y. Okay. If I take away the negative and the Y, I'm still left with an X, right? And remember, if I'm thinking about it, the number here really is a negative 1. So positive 2 divided by negative 1 makes it a negative 2. And we already took out the Y, so there's no Y's there anymore. Those pieces match up. So we have an X minus 2 and an X minus 1. And that is section 5.2.